Hi, I'm Eric Eichenberg, and on behalf of the Everglades Foundation, I want to congratulate the Everglades Headwaters National Wildlife Refuge on 10 years. What an exciting time to be at the forefront of preserving this precious land north of Lake Okeechobee. We say it's all about the water within the Everglades, but both north and south, working together in a collaborative way, we're seeing great progress and tremendous momentum, all of which was highlighted this past summer with the final moment of restoration on the Kissimmee River. The work that you're doing is vitally important. We have so much more to do, but I want to take a moment yet again on behalf of the Everglades Foundation to celebrate and to congratulate 10 years.
Hi, I'm Jim Strickland. I am the Vice Chairman of Florida Conservation Group, and it's a group of ranchers and scientists that we've been working to save land across Florida. We partner with National Wildlife Refuge Association, using their national level expertise with our ranch land knowledge has been a extremely beneficial partnership to saving all these lands across Florida.
Hi, I'm Julie Morris, the Florida and Gulf Program Manager for the National Wildlife Refuge Association. The Everglades Headwaters National Wildlife Refuge and Conservation Area was established in 2012. This was the result of cooperation between multiple state and federal agencies, the ranching and sportsmen's communities, and the conservation community. This region supports the Florida panther and many other iconic species of wildlife, while also protecting the water resources for millions of Floridians that live along the coast.
My name's Carlton Moore Jr., and I'm a conservation photographer. One of my favorite places to photograph is the Everglades Headwaters. The Everglades Headwaters Refuge is the front lines for conservation in Florida. It's where the rapid development pushing out from Orlando collides with one of the largest and most significant conservation opportunities we have in our country. If we continue on our current path without more conservation in the headwaters, the development could sprawl from Tampa to Vero Beach and basically cut the state of Florida in half. But by protecting and expanding the Headwaters Refuge, we have a chance to preserve a relatively unbroken landscape of unparalleled opportunity in the east. We can keep the World Heritage Area of the Everglades connected all the way up the state to the rest of our country. I started my career photographing in Africa, thinking I had to go halfway around the world to find stories that hadn't been told for US audiences. And more recently, I discovered that there's so many stories of global significance hidden here in our own backyards. When I came back and started focusing on Florida, I turned my lens towards the story of the Florida Cattle Ranch. And it was through that process and photographing ranches in places like Yeehaw Junction and the Kissimmee River Valley that I realized that these ranches were indeed the Everglades. And this was the headwaters of the Everglades. And the preservation of this landscape not only would help protect the longest history of ranching in America, it could hold together a connected conservation landscape unparalleled anywhere in the eastern United States. You can literally set foot out of the suburban fringe of Orlando and Kissimmee, point yourself south, and walk for 100 miles across a relatively unbroken landscape to Lake Okeechobee. And then 100 miles more through agricultural lands, taking you to Everglades National Park and at the edge of Florida Bay.
Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Gray. I work for Audubon, Florida. We're a nonprofit conservation group focused mostly on birds. I've been working in our Everglades Restoration Program for almost 27 years now. And so my job with Audubon is primarily to work north of Lake Okeechobee because everybody knows Okeechobee's got algae problems. They know that when hurricanes come in, it gets really, really deep and it wrecks the lake, and then the Corps gets nervous about the dike, and so they release all the water down the St. Lucie and the Caloosahatchee, and it wrecks those estuaries. And all that excess water and excess nutrient comes from the northern Everglades. It comes from the farms and ranches and cities that we have up here.
The Everglades Headwaters National Wildlife Refuge encompasses almost 1 million acres north of Lake Okeechobee. This is the acquisition boundary. Our challenge is, within that boundary, we must identify and protect the most important areas for our water and wildlife.
Hello, I am Tom Hochter. I'm the director of the Center for Landscape Conservation Planning. I have been at the University of Florida as a research scientist for about 30 years now. I am both a conservation biologist and a landscape ecologist.
Some of our nation's most endangered plants and animals reside primarily on this ranching landscape. These ranchlands are what we call a low-intensity land use. This is the land use that most closely mimics our natural ecosystems.
So the Center for Landscape Conservation Planning works very closely with the National Wildlife Refuge Association in Florida, and specifically in the Greater Everglades watershed. That partnership includes working very closely with Julie Morris from NWRA. And that's a very unique partnership because it's often the case that the science isn't always directly tied to the land protection process and the policy process. Julie Morris is the expert for all the different policies and programs that are available to protect land.
This ranching landscape within the Everglades Headwaters National Wildlife Refuge is under increasing threat from encroaching development and more intensive land use.
The Everglades Headwaters and the ranchers above Lake Okeechobee are key to the future of the Everglades.
We have this huge connected ecosystem squeezed between two coasts, and because of the Headwaters National Wildlife Refuge, we have a motivation, identity, and a hope to keep it all connected for the future.
So when the Everglades Headwaters National Wildlife Refuge is completed, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will have protected 150,000 acres of land within that million-acre acquisition boundary.
There are many areas that are important for conservation, and we still have the opportunity to connect those areas through a system of wildlife corridors. And without the Everglades Headwaters, we won't have that keystone connection in the heart of South Central Florida.
1,000 people move to Florida a day. We have a short window of opportunity to protect this landscape before it is gone forever.